Olise deal, Benjamin Sesko signs, Jadon Sancho given final Man United transfer verdict. Jadon Sancho faces an increasingly uncertain future at Manchester United despite his impressive performances while on loan at Borussia Dortmund. Sir Jim Ratcliffe must soon decide whether or not Jadon Sancho still has a future at Manchester United. The 24-year-old, who's enjoyed an excellent vein of form since joining Borussia Dortmund on loan in January, has been heavily linked with an exit. Sancho, who sees his contract at Old Trafford expire in June 2026, featured 14 times in the Bundesliga this season, scoring 2 goals and providing 3 assists. He quickly cemented himself in Edin Terzic's starting lineup, helping the German Giants climb into 5th place. The England international has been just as impressive on the European stage too, starting each of Borussia Dortmund's knockout ties. Before Sancho returns to Carrington later this summer, he must lock horns with Real Madrid in the Champions League final. The former Manchester City prospect will be hoping to leave his mark at Wembley Stadium on Saturday night, perhaps an audition for potential suitors or a chance to finally win over Erik ten Hag. Nevertheless, for now, it remains unclear what the future holds for Sancho. So, with that being said, writers at the Manchester Evening News have stuck their necks out to predict where the showman will be playing his football next season. Tom Doyle. In an ideal world, United and Sancho would part ways with a curt handshake, United pocketing a big transfer fee, and Sancho getting his dream move back Dortmund. Unfortunately for both club and player, a permanent exit still looks a tough sell despite his BVB renaissance. Sancho's monster wages, around £300,000 per week, plus United's desire to recoup as much of the initial £73 million transfer fee they paid Dortmund means few teams have the financial muscle to take a gamble on the winger, and make no mistake, Sancho is a gamble given his spectacular fall from grace at Old Trafford. United are keen to sell given their FFP concerns, but Sancho's remaining book value, £29.2 million, according to Reach's chief business of football writer Dave Powell, means they need a substantial sale to profit. Another key factor is Erik ten Hag's fate. The Dutchman exiled Sancho following a public fallout, while an apology from the player seems remote at this point, so a fresh start at United is unlikely unless a new head coach is in charge. Sancho will need to decide what he really wants. The reality is that if he wants to stay at Dortmund, he will have to take a huge pay cut. If not, he'll either be sold to the highest bidder, stuck in loan purgatory elsewhere, or will have to swallow an uneasy truce with United. For the latter, Sancho would have to apologise to ten Hag and win over the United fanbase again, but the club can't be too picky at the moment. United are light in both attackers and transfer funds, so Sancho is prime like a new signing fodder. Ten Hag's recent switch to a tighter formation with a false 9 role could also benefit Sancho. He was signed as a winger, but his key qualities for United have been his technique and passing in tight, central areas along with an ability to find space around the penalty box. I think United should sell, but if they can't get a respectable deal then I still see a version of the club's future with Sancho in it. Isaac Johnson. The first thing to say is that if Erik ten Hag stays as United boss, Sancho will not return to Old Trafford. Outgoing coach Benny McCarthy revealed that the winger refused to apologise to his manager given it would mean he accepted ten Hag's claim that his training levels were not up to scratch. And so, the feud continues. Anyway, the most sensible move for Sancho would be to stay at Borussia Dortmund. In many ways, there is no better time to be at the club. A Champions League final will no doubt attract more talent over the summer window ahead of a Bundesliga season that will contain a relegated Burnley manager as Bayern Munich's head coach and a potentially weakened Bayer Leverkusen side that has just played a 53-match campaign. 2.5 years at United have not bore the kind of fruit Sancho had been hoping for. At times in a career you must either take a gamble or cut your losses. It seems sensible for Sancho to do the latter right now, still aged only 24, with bags of time on his side. His parting gift will be to help United in their battle against Premier League spending limits. United will not get the £73 million they paid for him in 2021, but they too must be wise and cut their own losses. Jake Stokes. Jadon Sancho and Manchester United should just part ways this summer. The winger has more than proven himself as a top player since swapping Old Trafford for the Signal Iduna Park in January, and he doesn't need to pull on the Red Devils shirt again to determine otherwise. Whether he stays at Borussia Dortmund or not, Sancho just needs to find a manager that will fuel his confidence and a team that suits his style of play. Unfortunately, Erik ten Hag and Manchester United provide neither at the moment. Even if the Dutchman were to be sacked, all parties just need to move on. Fortunately for Ratcliffe, Sancho remains a lucrative asset on the transfer market, meaning the Red Devils can cash in and fund a spending spree. With the windfall secured from his sale, Manchester United could put money towards signing Olise and Benjamin Sesko. Of course, the duo will cost far more than the sum they'll receive for Sancho, but it'd certainly be a nice boost. Amy Wilson. Jadon Sancho's future at Manchester United could have a lot to do with if Erik ten Hag is the manager or not going into next season. A public fallout with the boss means that there seems to be no way back for Sancho if the Dutchman remains in charge. But if the decision to make a managerial change is made, then it could also change Sancho's fortunes. Working with a new manager at the helm could potentially revive Sancho's career at the club. Having said that, for United the most realistic option is probably to cash in this summer, especially given eyes being on the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules, PSR. While they will not get what they paid for him, the money made could be spent on strengthening the squad in the summer window, whether that's with or without ten Hag. Olise transfer, Rashford stays, Ahmad role, Man United's dream forward line after £172 million overhaul. Man United will be looking to completely overhaul their attack this summer, after being particularly goal-shy this season in the Premier League. Manchester United's forward line is in desperate need of a complete overhaul this summer, after being particularly blunt this campaign. In the Premier League, United managed to score just 57 goals, just one better than 16th place Brentford. Their defence conceded just 58 goals, which is on par with the likes of Aston Villa and Tottenham Hotspur, who both conceded slightly more but scored almost 20 more goals. It does not take a rocket scientist to work out what needs significant investment this summer, and there are several moves United must look to make if they wish to assemble a dream attack. Men's Sport has taken a look at what United need to do. Olise signs. Crystal Palace winger Olise is being heavily tipped with a switch to Old Trafford this summer, having impressed despite limited minutes. Injuries were an issue for the Frenchman throughout the campaign, but 10 goals and 6 assists in 19 appearances is an impressive return. It is understood Palace's winger has a £60 million release clause, which is a hefty feat, but considering his age and his love for the club, Olise would be a long-term investment fans would get behind. Ahmad promoted. Having spent big on Olise, decision would need to be made on the rest of the wingers at the club. Facundo Pellistri is almost certain to depart, but another would likely have to leave at least temporarily. Ahmad has shown in the latter stages of this season that he has more than enough ability to be given a fair crack next season. The same perhaps can't be said for Antony, who has struggled in his first 2 seasons at the club. It feels like the Brazilian needs some time away from the spotlight to rediscover his form, and a season-long loan move could be just what is needed. In his absence, it would be good to see Ahmad get a proper chance to show what he can do. Osimhen targeted. United have just one centre-forward on their books heading into the new season at present, so significant spending is needed to provide Rasmus Højlund with some competition. Napoli's Victor Osimhen would be a dream addition, having scored goals for fun in Italy. In January, it was reported that Napoli wanted £112 million for their striker, but with 2 years left on his contract and the Nigerian forward wanting to leave, that seems like a negotiable figure. Sir Jim Ratcliffe must understand that he would need to pay big money to gain the reliable goalscorer that United is crying out for. Rashford stays. He may split opinion among United fans online, but Marcus Rashford remains a noticeably popular figure at Old Trafford. The winger has not enjoyed the best season in the world, and his decision to take a step back from social media and recharge should be praised. An in-form and focused Rashford remains an asset to United, and if he can rediscover that form next season, it could be the difference between 8th and top 4. This summer is not the time for the Englishman to depart, but rest assured this coming campaign is make or break for him. Managing Man United, Erik ten Hag stays, Jarrad Branthwaite signs and Antony leaves. Man United are heading into one of the most pivotal summer transfer windows for a decade, as Sir Jim Ratcliffe is given his first test as co-owner. No Manchester United fan would be truthful if they claimed that this summer transfer window is not exponentially more important than those in years gone by. Coming off the back of a poor 8th-place finish in the Premier League, Sir Jim Ratcliffe enters his first summer transfer window as co-owner, needing to make a statement about his intentions for the football club. Initial theories suggest the British billionaire is aiming to be frugal in the transfer window, which is understandable after the big net spends in previous summers. However, this does not mean the Ineos founder will be forgiven if he scrimps on some of the big gaps that are lurking in this team. So before all the drama of the summer begins, Men's Sport has taken a look at the priorities which the club need to complete. Ten Hag decision made. This should hopefully be boxed off at the beginning of next week, but Ratcliffe needs to make a decision on Ten Hag's future before any rebuild can begin. As May has worn on, it seems more and more wise to keep the Dutchman as manager next season. There shall be plenty of transition happening at Old Trafford this summer, and some sense of familiarity is needed. After the heavy loss at Crystal Palace, you could be forgiven for thinking the squad had given up on Ten Hag and were actively playing for his exit, but their response since then has been good, and the victory in the FA Cup final was the icing on the cake. The lack of options in the manager market also plays in Ten Hag's favour. Bayern Munich have just appointed recently relegated Burnley boss Vincent Kompany, which shows exactly how small the field of eligible managers is. Zinedine Zidane is the only guaranteed upgrade on Ten Hag, and the chances of him arriving seem small to non-existent. Branthwaite signs. With Ten Hag's future secure, signing a centre-back should be next on the list of priorities. Lisandro Martinez and Harry Maguire are the only guaranteed central defenders for next season, so at least one more starter needs to be added to that mix. Men's Sport understands Everton's Jarrad Branthwaite is a player of interest, and he fits the image of what United are looking to build. He is a raw talent who is bound to get better, especially, as is expected, he makes it into Gareth Southgate's 26-man squad for Euro 2024. Branthwaite could cost up to £80 million, but at 21, he is certainly an investment that could prove to be a stroke of genius in just a couple of years. Re-enter Osimhen transfer race. After centre-back, the centre-forward position is next on the list of priorities for United. After Antony Martial's exit this week, the Reds have been left with just Rasmus Højlund as a recognised number 9. If Ratcliffe is serious about pushing United up the table as quickly as possible, he should look towards re-entering the race for Napoli striker Victor Osimhen. The Nigerian striker will be sold by the Serie A club this summer, and currently United are on the outside looking in. Osimhen would guarantee goals and provide some much-needed competition for Højlund. With the 25-year-old wanting out of the Naples club, United could pick up a bargain and snap up a player who is bound to be in among the top goalscorers in Europe again next season. Antony exit. This final suggestion is one that could be unlikely but might be beneficial for Antony's career. The Brazilian has had a difficult start to life in Manchester, and it is clear he is not at the standard Ten Hag expected when he signed his former Ajax winger. With another 3 years left on his contract, a smart move would be to allow the 24-year-old a season-long loan spell either back in the Netherlands or another top league in Europe. This move could be helped by the arrival of Michael Olise from Crystal Palace or by entrusting Amad Moore. But whatever the solution for his replacement is, a season away from the spotlight to rediscover his form could do wonders for Antony.